Hello everyone, my name is Harshpal. In this video, I will introduce you to CATO SASE and explain you the CATO management application. This video is going to be useful for the beginners, primarily for the partners, pre-sales engineer, or maybe for those who is new to the CATO technology. The whole idea of this video is to explain you in very short what is the CATO SASE primarily, and then I will explain you how to onboard the users and how to set up the admin credentials for the first time and onboard your first user onto the CATO SSE platform. So let's start this. So before I get into the demonstrations of the CATO SASE, the first things for the beginners, very important to understand that what is SASE all about. So in short, this is the blueprint from the Gartner where they talk about the SASE as a converged platform, where simply the whole idea is to converge the network services and the network service and the security service into the one platform. What it means is you take the SSE controls. So these are the SSE controls, and then you take the network controls, put into the one platform, converge them. This is how the SASE frameworks looks like. In this particular the video, I'm going to talk about the CATO SSE, which is primarily this particular the piece, right? Now, before I explain you how basically the CATO SSE, the onboarding happens and everything. Just quickly, I'll just run through what exactly the SSE component of the CATO SSE. As I said, there are two components into the SASE. One is SSE, one is SD-WAN. This video is primarily for the SSE. Maybe in next video, I'll also talk about the SD-WAN separately. Okay. So now if you look at the first things is the CATO architecture, the CATO has around 89 POPs across the globe, and every quarter they keep on increasing these POPs. And then what you see here, these rings are basically the CATO POPs. One of the differentiator here is the CATO POPs are not hosted into the public cloud, and every POP is the full compute POP compared to the any other the competitor there into the market. And one of the another differentiator in very short I want to explain you about is the CATO private backbone, which is the USP of the CATO. The whole idea of this, the global private backbone, is to make the internet reliable. What it means is, if one user is connecting, let's say this is remote user, he is connecting to nearby POP, and when he is accessing the SaaS application, when that SaaS application is sitting into the different part of the world, then CATO does the SaaS optimization. It uses the best of the best path using the global private backbone by mean of identifying if there is any packet loss, the low latency, and also the WAN optimization. So there are multiple things happens within this backbone. So this gives the advantage to the CATO compared to the any other competition, right? So in this video, what I'm going to do is, first of all, I'm going to explain you about the CATO management application and how do you create the first admin credentials in order to get the access to the CATO management application. And second part will be, I will explain you how can you onboard your first user and get it connected to the CATO, and how can you create the basic the firewall or maybe the URL filtering policy, right? So that's the idea of this particular video. Now let's get into the demo. So once you subscribe to the CATO service, the first thing that is going to happen is you are going to get an email like this, where once you get this email, it is going to ask you to activate your account. So you just need to simply click onto this to activate your account. And then first time you have to set up the password for this account. So let's set up the password for this account. Okay, so I've set the password. Let me log in again. Okay, so now if you see that once I set my password, it is asking for the to set up the multi-factor authentication. Now I have seen most of the partners who basically start the onboarding or of the CATO SASE. they typically miss this particular step. They just hit on to the continue and they ask again, we are not able to log in, there is no MFA. Ensure that you do not continue this step until unless you do not scan this particular code into the Google Authenticator. So what you need to have is you need to have on your mobile, you need to have a Google Authenticator, which is what I'm already having here in my mobile. So I'm going to scan this particular QR code in the Google Authenticator. Just give me a minute. Okay, so yeah, so I have now scanned this particular the QR code. Now my MFA is set from my mobile. I'm going to take this one-time code from the authenticator. And now this is an agreement. You just have to scroll down, accept and continue. Now I'm into the CMA CATO management application, right? So now here you see this is the URL of your tenant. So and then if you see this, this is in fact the name of your tenant. So if you go to the account here, you're going to see that when this account was created, the name of the account was given. So this is the name of the account. This is very important to know. Okay, that's the first thing. Now the second things, once you the first time when you're doing it, you just need to go to the administrator. So this is the administrator already has been added. Once this admin was added, as soon as we add this admin, you get this email, this activation email. Okay. So that's the thing. And now, if you want, you can also add the other admin. For example, if you have other, the engineer, the pre-sales engineer, you can also add them into the same account by just click onto the new, and you just need to put the username, the first name, last name, email ID, and the rules, right? So there are multiple rules you have it. For the full access, give the editor as a role, and then later on you can also explore the different options. Then also the second thing is also you need to ensure that the proper access for the sites and the user has been given. Okay. So for example, let's see for this user, what is the access has been given. So this is the editor role, the Harshpal Bhatti, this particular case. And now one thing I'm seeing is I do not have the access to the sites and users and nothing has been selected. So I'm an admin user, so I'm just going to select all of this and into the edit mode so that I should be able to add the sites, also the user properties. Now I'm just going to save it. Okay, so now the first thing what we're now going to do is we are now going to add the first user here. So let's say you go to the access and go to the user, go to user directory. I'm going to add the user manually. That means I'm going to create the user locally. That means the CATO is going to act as an IDP, right? If you want, you can also integrate with the third-party identity provider. You can do the SSO and so many the other things which is typically required. But this is the first video for the beginner. So let's start with the onboarding a user manually. Okay. So now let's add a user. So I'm going to add the same user here. Let me ensure that the email ID is correct. I think so, right? Okay. So now this user I have created. Now the important thing what you need to notice is that as soon as you create a user, there is an authentication is going to set, right? So what basically is talking about is let's try to understand all the properties. What is the name of the user? What is the email ID of the user? The status has been configured, okay? And this will change as soon as we move forward. There is no license attached to the user. This is what is very important. I'll talk about it a little bit later. And then we see the source is manual. That means this has been created manually. If you integrate with the LTAP or maybe you do the SCIM, you're going to see the different source from where this user has been provisioned. In this case, this is manual. And by default, when I created this user, the authentication method is the SSO because into the account property, when the new user is getting onboarded, the default authentication being set as an SSO. Okay. For this demonstration purpose, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to change the authentication method. So you see it here, if I click, and okay, so now this is very interesting. So now you see that I'm not able to change the user and password. The reason here is, if you remember that I was not having the rights to change the user and the site's permissions, right? And I changed it, and after that I did not log off and log in again. So I need to log off again. Okay, it's MFA. Now, in case, let's say you missed to do an MFA for the first time, in that case, you need to reach out to the CATO representative in order to reset your MFA or maybe the password if required. Otherwise, you will not be able to do it by yourself. Okay, see, okay, so now I logged in again. Now I have permission to change it. Now I'm changing this default method, which is SSO, to the user and password. I'll just say yes. And now let's go back to the user property again. And now you see this has been changed, and also the license has been associated automatically, right? Now, how do we control licensing? It's very important to know that this is a demo account. So in the demo account, by default, you are going to have the 5 user licenses, the total 5 user licenses. And out of 5, the 4 is unassigned and 1 is assigned. Now, one more thing I want to talk about is any customer, when you subscribe for this service, regardless of whatever you are buying, right? Top of that, by default, this 5 users license is the base license comes in. For example, if you're buying license for the SD-WAN, still you're going to get this 5 user license for the SSE. Okay. So in this case, you see the property here is assign SDP license to all users. That means as soon as the user is getting onboarded, the license is going to associate automatically from the available pool, right? Other option is you do not want to assign this license to all the user. You only want to assign to the certain groups. Then you can select the assign HTTP license to the selected users and groups. And you can select some particular users and the groups only, or maybe to the individual user you can assign, for example, here, right? So let it be as it is now. And now, so let's also look at the licensing here. So this is the account info. One of the things is, so this is the account name. And the other things we should be aware of the account ID. Many times this is something the CATO pre-sales or maybe the CATO the tag is going to ask about this. So if you need to find out, if they ask you, this is what is basically the account ID, right? And then one more thing very important is many times I see that many of the partners is not aware about the what is the login to the portal. So if you want, you can also basically, for example, from here, if you go to single sign-on, you will be able to see that what is the portal, right? And you can in fact change this as well if you want. Okay. So now let's go back to the user again. So now we have the user directory. So as soon as this happens, let's see, you're going to see that you should be okay. Okay, so that's the one thing. Now what we're going to do is after this, when you created a user, we just added a user. There is no password has been set for this user. So next thing what you need to do is you just search for the CATO client, CATO client download, and you can download the CATO client from here, be it as Windows or be it as uh, the Mac. So I have Windows, so I'm just going to install this CATO client for Windows. You also see that certificate. When you install the CATO client, the certificate installations happen automatically. You do not need to install a certificate, right? But on those cases where you are seeing that the certificate warning because the CATO client is not installed, and for the like you want to use the CATO as a proxy, in that case you have to install the certificate manually. But in this case, because I'm going to install the CATO client here, so this is going to install the certificate automatically. I do not need to download the certificate and install. So now let's install this CATO, and you need the admin permission here. I'm just going to say yes. So you're going to prompt like this. Yeah. Okay. Now let me just open that CATO client. It is installed. Okay, so now you see the CATO client is opened here. Okay. Then you need to go to the user. So this is the manual process I'm talking about. Okay, there is a different way to do it automatically and via the group policy. But let's begin with this. So now let's put my email ID, which was my username. Okay. Okay, so now you see that because we have not created a password for this user, we only created a user. Now it is asking me to send an email. I'm just going to send an email. An email was sent to harshpal.bhatti@outlook.com after creating your password and MFA if necessary. Sign into your account. Now, one more thing very important, it's also saying the and MFA if necessary. In my the configuration here, I have not defined the MFA, just the username password. If you define MFA, then of course you also have to set the MFA. So that means and many times the customer asks me that they want to enforce the MFA. If they want to use the CATO as an IDP, they do not need to buy the MFA separately. It comes by default with the CATO. So let me just go back to again here. Click on the sign in. Okay, it's asking for the username and password, but I don't have a password. Now I go back to again my email, and now it's asking activate your network access. Right? Earlier it was activate this one, and now okay this one. So you see that here to set up your password. Welcome to secure remote access with CATO. Click here to set up your password, and we go it here, and I'm just going to set the password. Okay, password is set. Let's go back here again. This. Now see, it is connected. And now to verify, and you see that it is connected to the CHN CATO D2A. So CHN is CATO, CHN is Chennai, CATO D is the process, right? So it's connected to Chennai CATO POP. And now what I'm going to do is if you go it here, Google, what is my IP? And you see, I'm going via the CATO Tamil Nadu POP. All my traffic from this client is now going via the CATO. Okay. Now let's try to disconnect this. I have disconnected. Now let's refresh this again. And now we see I'm going via the Bharti Airtel IP, which is my local broadband IP address. Okay. Now, so this is the process in order to activate your admin's account, or then in order to onboard your first user, right? Now, let's say you onboarded the first user, and now we are seeing that all your traffic, the internet traffic, is going via the CATO. What else, the as a basic configuration you have to keep in mind and you have to do it is, so this is the access where you do multiple user related stuff or the client connectivity stuff. We'll talk about this later in another video, but in this one, if you see, the first things what you need to do is the internet firewall. So right now you see that by default internet firewall is disabled, right? That means the its CATO is only acting as a router. There is no security being enforced. I'm just going to turn on this now. Internet firewall is enabled, and then second thing what I want to do is, and these are the default rules which is being applied here, right? And what you see here is this is the default rule: Tor network is block, SMB SMTP is block, right? Risky category is block. So these are the different rules is what we have. Yeah. Okay. So now next is let me just okay. The next thing what you have to do is just turn on the TLS inspection. This is required if you need to enforce that URL filtering or maybe the threat prevention stuff, okay, in place. The interesting thing what you need to know here is once you turn it on, okay, this is enabled now, and then there is a default rule which says that inspect everything, any inspect anything, and if you want you can also create your specific rule, okay, for particular traffic. How do you want to deal that particular traffic? Okay, so for example here you have the destination, and maybe you do not want to enforce there are, let's say, the banking application. You do not want to inspect those applications. In that case you can select an application and you can choose whatever you want to inspect, okay, or maybe the application category, or maybe the custom category, custom application, whatever you want to do it, right? um, so, and then these are the default bypass rule. For example, let's say the traffic is going from the Android device that is getting bypassed, um, because it's not possible to do the essence inspection on the Android devices until unless you install the certificate. There are apps, there's the issue with the app, certificate pinning and all. So these are basically from the best practices perspective, these application has been bypassed. Okay, so now if we go back to the internet firewall policy is enabled, and this is the WAN firewall policy. Again, this is disabled. I'm not going to enable now because in this video we are not going to cover this particular one, but this is primarily for your private access and this is for the internet firewall. Uh, so now let's do one more thing here is, let's see if you want to block something here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create a policy here. Okay, so the first things I'm going to do is, which is the uh, quick protocol block. To ensure that the inspection happens for the SSL traffic, and we drop the quick the before rule, and above the rule number 3, yeah, and source let be any destiny criteria. We don't want to define any criteria for now. We'll talk about all of these options in the detailed videos. And then app category, what we want to define here is this one. Sorry, so we'll have to select the application. Gcook. Okay, so we are dropping this, and we can also turn on the log if you want. Okay, let's do this. And now I'm going to create one more policy here. So this is for the category. I'm also going to block the service in another rule. So let's create the another rule. this is the service. Let's again block before rule. Okay, I don't want to lock this, leave it. Okay, so now we have the two rules created. Once we publish, this is going to, okay, so this is done. So now what I'm going to do is, I'm just going to connect the get current again. Generally, when you make any changes here, it takes a couple of minutes for the changes to reflect. Uh, let's see, for example, if something is being blocked here. So this is the gaming website. Yeah. So that means now the URL filtering is working. The 777.com is blocked. And you see that the gaming category is blocked here, right? This is what's saying. This is blocked. Corporate intent policy. If you want, you can change all of this. This is the warning. So this is giving the warning. Um, and now, in order to verify that that SSL inspection is working, maybe we can open any website and let's see whether the SSL inspection is working or not. Not now. Maybe I'll have to just open into the private session and let's say I open gmail.com. Yeah, so if this is coming, that means your SSL is working. All your URL filtering policies and everything should work in this case. Now you want to verify the logs, go to the home and go to the events and you can you can search for the logs here. For example, here you see so all the events will be available here. Okay. You can refresh. Yeah, so all the events you can put in different filter here, right? All the filters you can put, you can filter for the user, for example, and then maybe let's say you want to see for the user only. Let's say, okay, this user. So user display name is this, user email ID is this. You can just click on filter, and it is going to show you the log for only for the specific user. You can also use this AI-based search to search for the specific log, for example. So I think this is what I had in this particular session where I explained you about the how to do the activation of your admin account. Then I explained about how do you install the client and how do you create the password for the client, and then basically how the traffic is routing via the CATO, and we also turn on the SSL inspection on the URL filtering policies as well. In next video, we'll have more detailed explanations about the policies which we have. We'll focus more onto this internet firewall policies. What are the best practices we have? What kind of the different rules we can create using the internet firewall policies. Yeah, and then maybe we'll talk about the in subsequent another video. We'll also talk about the threat prevention and different modules as well. That's it for now. Thanks for watching.